Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the moment witnessing the Pro Race 1, which is in Japan at the famous Kyoto Driving Park in Yamagiwa. This is not really a track which is physically there in Yamagiwa, but it's in one of these. It's what you call a fantasy track, where drivers may use this in Gran Turismo to race each other. This is the final round of the CMSC Pro Am Race from Home Championship, and this championship has been brought to you by Mobitel and Sri Lanka Telecom, along with our motorsporting partner Demo 800, who are the franchise holders for Mercedes-Benz. This track in Kyoto, Yamagiwa, is approximately 4.9 kilometers in distance and consisting of 15 turns, which is a combination of lefts and rights. It's a very technical circuit, got a long straight, and as we ride on board with Tiran Pereira, I'm told that Huzefa Jafaji, who's the championship leader, has set the fastest lap. We've got about 4 minutes of time remaining in qualifying as we ride on board with Huzefa Jafaji, closely followed by Ashan Silva, another very quick driver. Ashan driving a Nissan GTR. You can see Ashan very close to Huzefa, and Huzefa drives the Porsche 911. I'm also made to understand by the organizers that this race consists of 15 laps. 13 laps, that's right. This is 13 lap race. It'll be interesting to see who's who and which of these cars have the legs to perform in a better way. Yes, so this track consists of 15 laps as we ride on board with Huzefa Jafaji, the second in the championship. The driver today is Brian Pereira. As you see, Brian also driving a Porsche 911, which seems to be the preferred car on this circuit. Brian has set the second fastest time. Ashan Silva in the mighty GTR is third, and Viren Boteju in his bright blue Subaru STI is currently running fourth. Riaz Hafrat is at the moment in fifth position, and he is closely followed by Rais Uem, who's in sixth, and Tiran Pereira, who's at the moment just about to set his qualifying lap. He's in seventh place. He's been classified as seventh by virtue of the fact that he has not set a time as yet. And Tiran driving very slowly, and you can see him going off track a little bit. I'm sure his concentration got the better of him. And Thiago Pereira has not left the pits at all in this session. So there you have it. As Huzefa Jafaji, Ashan Silva has come second. Ashan Silva has qualified second, and that's another feather in Ashan's cap, because this mighty monster of a car, it's not easy to muscle it around this track. As you could see, he just went off there, and Brian Pereira is 100th of a second away from Ashan, or behind Ashan. So in this format, as you would know from previous experiences, the pole sitter will start at the back of the grid, and the person who starts last will start, who has not qualified or starts last, will start at the front. that's done in such a way so that you'll find the racing to be more interesting. As you see, Viren Boteju using every inch of the track, trying to get the maximum space on the track to make the car run faster. There seems to be an incident somewhere on track, because there's a yellow flag being waved as Viren Boteju muscles the car around. As you see, he's gone off track, 4 wheels off track, and he's got a penalty of 2 seconds. And Viren Boteju showing his appreciation to the organizers by having a branding on his car which says "Thank you, CMSC." Very touching. In this year of COVID, where there was absolutely no motorsport, the Ceylon Motorsports Club has come out with a different format, thanks to the constant efforts of Sabri Salam and Sam Hekender, who've tirelessly worked many weekends to make this championship a reality, along with Akri Amir, who's been helping in the background. So there you have it. We are almost at the end of qualifying, and Huzaifa Jaffrji is on pole with a lap time of 1:32.972, and right behind him is Brian Pereira, who's 5 tenths away from him, and Ashan Silva, who's almost 7 tenths away from Huzaifa Jaffrji. As the cars go out, we see Thiago also behind Brian. Not too sure whether he had enough time to run a qualifying lap, but it shows that he is at the moment without a lap time. We are 30 seconds more into the qualifying session, at which point we will begin with the race. So as it stands, we have Huzaifa Jaffrji, who's got the fastest time, followed by Brian Pereira, Ashan Silva, Viren Boteju, Riaz Hafrat, Rais Uem, Tiran Pereira, and Thiago Pereira. We've got this race start, and we've got Thiago, who's leading the pack and trying to scamper away. He started in pole by virtue of a reverse grid, and he has a fast-moving Tiran Pereira right on his tail. Tiran and Thiago trying to get away from the rest of the pack. They've already pulled a 1 second lead off the others, and it'll be interesting to see what these two guys are going to do, because from the little experience that I have is in the past, as we see, sadly, we see Viren Boteju running a little too wide and going into the wall, and a gaggle of cars overtaking him there. I think he lost a little bit of concentration, and 3 cars took him at that point of time. He's trying to keep Huzaifa Jaffrji behind him, and Huzaifa is not going to be a happy chappy on that one, as everybody else passed him. And in the middle of the order, you find Brian Pereira and Ashan Silva. Oh, there's been an incident. Ashan has been tapped, I think, by somebody. I'm not too sure exactly what happened there, but there was contact there. I saw Brian and Ashan coming very close to each other. Stewards will have a look at that. That's a shame, because Viren has managed to get ahead of all these drivers. As again Viren runs wide, and something is wrong. Viren seems to have pushed Huzefa off the track, but Huzefa, being the astute driver he is, will have none of it. And in the process, we see Riaz Hafrat has managed to overtake Tiran Pereira. That will be an interesting battle to see, as Tiran tries to take the battle back to Riaz. These two guys now falling behind Thiago by 1.8 seconds. It's not going to help their cause, because it will only allow Thiago a little bit more breathing space. And you never know, strategy plays a vital role in this, as Riaz seems to be catching Thiago by a tenth here and a tenth there. So there you have it. Riaz has pulled away a little bit from Tiran, and the car's now falling into an even rhythm. As another car there I can see with another thank you CMSC, that's Rise Wim, who's also got thank you CMSC on the side of his car, and that's very touching in respect to the organizers. We must also thank our sponsors who've been with us right throughout the year. We've got Mobitel and Sri Lanka Telecom as we run into the second lap. We've got Mobitel and Sri Lanka Telecom, who partnered with us right through this championship, along with Demo. They've been a yeoman service to us and giving us all the data connections that we require, the location to have race control, as well as helping us with all the other technical assistance that we required. And we go right up again with Brian and Rise. They're running tooth and nail, and I think Brian seems to have got the better of Rise today. Brian is trying to get a bit of a breather between himself and championship leader Huzefa Jafferty. We are missing young Yevan David today, as he's been having a parallel race, and Thiago seems to have fallen from first to third. We didn't exactly see what happened there, but there may have been a slight lapse of concentration on Thiago's part, but something has gone wrong, and he's third at the moment, as Riaz Hafrat pulls away from the two lead cars. Brian Pereira seems to be catching the front runners as well. It'll be interesting to see, because from the little experience I have a feeling that they might have to go in for pit stops somewhere within the 5th and the 6th lap, as the cars will run out of fuel at some point of time, and it'll be sooner rather than later. Thiago seems to have got into a rhythm now, and is holding station in third, and Brian is now in fourth and closing up on the lead trio. Huzefa Jafferty is not too far away, as he is chasing down Brian, as he has to no, he doesn't have to overtake, but it'll be interesting to see where exactly they are, as Brian has now caught hold of Thiago, and we will see which of the two cars has the legs on the straight and round the more downforce in the corners. Yes, as Thiago runs wide, and Brian takes him on the inside, but a little bit of craftsmanship happened there, and Thiago on the switchback took him back again, as Brian, Thiago and Tiran all are within the same camera lens, as one would call it. As we see Brian hassling Thiago once again down the straight. the Mercedes having more power, but let's see whether Brian can break a little later. No, it doesn't happen. Yes, it has happened, as Thiago has had to yield the position to Brian. The Porsches are a force to reckon with. The Mercedes has had quite a bit of issues this season due to the fact that it's a much heavier car, burns a lot more fuel, but is a faster car on an overall lap. As we find the top 3 cars now coming into the 1/3 mark. The Mercedes, as I told you, will have to come in for a pit stop very soon, and it will be interesting to see at what point these 3 drivers are going to take. All 3 cars are parallel to each other. There's Brian, there's Tiran, and there's Thiago. So the 3 drivers all there. There are 4 drivers now. There's got Brian, there's Tiran, Thiago, and Josefa, all 4 in the same thing. And Brian seems to have got the better of Tiran, and Tiran has run wide. He has run wide. That's unfortunate. Thiago has now gained back that 3rd place, but he has championship leader Josefa Chaferji on his tail, as you will find Thiago now darting into the pits, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he is in the pits, as you'd see Riaz, Viren and Thiago and Tiran, all 4 in the pits. It will be interesting to see at what their strategies are going to be. Meanwhile, up front, we've got Brian Pereira, who's running away with the championship, along with Josefa. Josefa leading the championship and Brian second. Now you can see the reason that these guys are at the top of the championship. So they've got a little bit of an edge over the rest. This championship doesn't allow you to change cars midstream, so they've managed to hold on to their cars for this whole championship of 10 rounds with 20 racers. And as we ride on board with Brian, we've got Brian, we've got Josefa. They haven't done a pit stop as yet. They may be able to run 2 more laps, and it'll be interesting to see whether they can run this entire thing with a single stop, whereas the others will have to do a 2-stop strategy. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, they did this same thing last week or 2 weeks ago, and Josefa Chaferji ran out of fuel, and so did Brian. So this is going to work out in a very strategic way. They are gambling a little bit on this one, and by trying to run a single stop, you are going to have the you're going to have to make sure that you run your second stint very cautiously and save your fuel. As Rai Zuem now comes into the pits, as you see the car there, that's how a pit stop happens. As you see, thank you for CMSC is written all over the side of the car. It's a beautiful green car. And Rai Zuem now takes on his fuel, takes on tires, and runs. As he comes out just behind Ashan Silva, and Tiran Pereira is now being hassling Viren Botejo. That'll be interesting to see as both cars hobble around the track. Two Japanese cars fighting each other for the 5th place, as Tiran gets parallel with him, and the track, a nice sweeping left-hander here on this 4.9 kilometer circuit, as Tiran tries his level best to get the drive out of the corner, but young Viren Botejo will have none of it. These guys are real world drivers. They know exactly how to hold the other guy up. As we ride on board with Thiago, he's all by himself now, quite far down from Riaz Hafratuj. I'm sure Riaz must have fueled a little less when he refueled his car. as we see, Thiago, he's been afforded a penalty of 1.5 seconds. We're not too sure exactly what it's for. And Brian Pereira has done his pit stop and come out just behind Thiago. That's not a great thing for him, because that Thiago is going to slow him down, and that will naturally hamper Brian's progress into catching Josefa. Is also not going to help Thiago's cause, because he's going to be under quite a bit of stress with having a fast charging Brian Pereira up his exhaust pipe. So there you have it, Thiago and Brian battling each other out, and I hope Sena Council will prevail, and it has. Thiago has yielded the position to Brian, and Brian takes him. Thiago trying to switch back. It's not really a place to try it, but nevertheless you have to hassle the driver in front. And meanwhile you see a fast charging Viren Boteju and Tiran Pereira have now caught up with this lead pack. So it's interesting to see how these guys have matured in the process of a couple of months. And I find Tiran Pereira's car glitching a little bit in the process as he runs absolutely wide and takes a position there. That was amazing. How on earth did he do that without getting a penalty? I think Tiran is having a problem. Yeah, so Tiran has had an internet issue, and we've lost Tiran from the game because the car was glitching quite a bit, as Brian has taken Thiago, and as well as he's taken Josefa as well. So that's interesting. Did Brian actually take him on track, or what exactly did happen? As Viren starts sliding again and hammers the sidewall, the barrier is quite hard. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, because Riaz Hafrat in the process has pulled an 8-second lead from the lead trio. Now that's an interesting thing, because we have yet to see. Oh, that was there was a bit of an incident there between Brian and Josefa, but with all due respect to Josefa, he did lift off and allow Brian to regain composition and position. So I'm sure the stewards will look at it with a little bit of sympathy, because Brian has not lost a place. Josefa has given him the space to recover, and that's really good sportsmanship on Josefa's part. That's the kind of driving we'd like to see. Accidents do happen. The Oxford Dictionary does have a very clear explanation of what an accident is, and that clearly was an incident which was not intentional, and Josefa did yield and not try to take the position, even though he accidentally did tap Brian. In the process we see Brian slowly inching his way away from Josefa, but he is not catching Riaz. So Riaz has now managed to pull an 8-second lead, but Riaz will have to come in for a pit stop very soon, whereas the Porsches of Brian and Josefa might be able to pull it all the way through. Thiago and Riaz will have to do a pit stop very soon, and as I would understand, Viren is now on a bit of a conservative run, because his fuel light is blinking and he could run out of fuel. He's got only about 2 more corners to go and he should be okay. We're going to have Riaz, who's already in the pits, Thiago, who will have to come into the pits, and Viren, who's also will have to come into the pits for their second mandatory stop. So all 3 cars in the pits at the moment. Riaz, the first out, he's fueled his car all the way with Viren. Viren has a pit garage which is further closer to the front than Thiago, so his car will get out quicker than Thiago's. Yes, it has. And Thiago is also out, so in the process Thiago has got the legs on Viren by about